showing the rainbow chart from like Look Into Hex. I was showing somebody that chart like last night, and he was like, basically he was like talking about like the message, and I was like, bro, it's a chart. Like there is no message. Like what somebody predicts like price off of, like doesn't matter. Like you need to take the data that chart is giving you, and like the chart don't give a fuck what you think or what anybody else thinks. Like, you just look at it and like analyze for yourself. Like, what is it saying? And to me, what it's saying is that from a risk reward metric, it doesn't get better than this. Like if you were ever going to DCA into X is now. So
yep, literally. Yep. Let's go to that chart actually, because it's a great chart to bring up because it's just true, right? Like if it does break that line, well, shit, we might have a problem, but I don't think that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, and I mean, like candles can close below it. It's done that in the past, even for weeks. But like, I mean, if you look at the rainbow chart for any of the major like blue chip cryptos and stuff like that. I mean, any time that they're at the bottom of the linear regression, it was an amazing time to buy. And of course, that's also the time when people are the most scared or the most greedy in the sense where they're waiting for 6 cents, right? So fear and greed go both ways. I was trying to explain this to my girl. She's like, well, that's not greedy. And I'm like, oh, it is greedy. Like when you're saying like you have a bunch of cash and you're waiting for 6 cents, that is another form
you want
of greed.
more of that same thing for less.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's real simple. But and until she experiences that, she's not gonna understand it. That's really what it is. Because look at this chart, right? And this is a weird chart to me because if you consider what the what the supposition of Hex is supposed to be, this chart is just letting you know, like, yo, this is literally the most extreme point. It can't do anything lower. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I love about it is because for whatever reason, like the rainbow, like breaks stuff down for our brains, right? Where you're saying like it's clear to see, okay, like the red, we've been at the red, like, look how many touches that is. Like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 11 or 12 touches, right? And pretty much every single time that you touched at that point, even if it stays on the red. So like if you look at the middle part, there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like maybe like around 8 touches. But the way that the chart is that each touch was also a higher price than the previous.
Higher low.
So exactly. So like you imagine that point of DCAing in, and whether it's like 3 or 4 months that it hung out on the lower band, like you're up a lot from there. You are up a lot. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, could you wait for more downside? I mean, you could, but like what this chart is telling you is that this is an amazing time to buy, right? Like Hex is undervalued in the sense of like, traditional values over time. So, even though the price is a lot higher than it was the last time it touched the red line, it's telling you that that price in the current state is very similar. So whether that was like 6 cents the last time it touched or whatnot, I can't see. It's telling you that it's basically like buying at that price again.
Yeah, precisely. Let's see.
What is it? 1 cent? Okay, so it's like buying.
Oh, this is right before it took off last time.
Yeah, so it's like buying at 1.5 cents. Like
and the time before that was Big Payday, which is
So what would you do? What would you do to go back to last year or to earlier this year and buy at 1.5 cents?
Yeah,
like I think anybody would go back and load up the truck. But what are people doing now? They're hesitating
and selling.
Exactly. Yeah, sell the bottom. Buy ENS token, you pleb.
All right, Jay from the future here, and I just wanted to chime in and give a little bit more information about rainbow regressions. There's a couple that are lookintohex.com site, and I wanted to show you, in case you're wondering, well, where does this assumption come from that this is a good indicator or a buy signal? when it's down on the red? Well, because similar has been used throughout time since about 2012 with Bitcoin. I'll show you there's a 2012 version and a 2014 version. I'll show you the 2014 version. Now this is just modeling data, right? Another way to look at data expressed out over time. That's essentially all this is. If you want to understand like the values and how these formulas actually work, you can roll up to the top here and check out the 2 different models that he's using. But they were right in the clip that you just watched. Is traditionally, I mean, from big payday dump to every single other dump that's occurred, is when it's sitting on the red, it's usually a good time to buy. Now, is that the absolute bottom? Is that your absolute, the cheapest that you're ever going to get it? Probably not. But it's a good place to start accumulating, I guess, would be the bigger thing there. And again, this isn't meant to be financial advice. It's just meant to be common sense, right? If you look back on history, it's like, oh yeah, this has played out pretty well. So that's the logic we're using here. And then the Fibonacci model is pretty similar. And same thing applies here, is that when it gets down to that lower red line, which is the 0 line in this case, tends to be a good buy. Here is the 2014 model that was introduced back in Bitcoin Talk forums. So this is working completely different than what you just saw. And so you can dive into the metrics, I believe they cover, maybe they don't. Yeah, so this is a logarithmic regression chart. Yes, here's the actual math, kind of figuring out, like showing you how they figure out the weight of this, right? So here it is being expressed. You've got your halving dates and you've got your classification of the different colors on the chart itself, right? So same thing applies here, is that traditionally buying on the blue, in this case, it's blue instead of red, so the colors are just essentially reversed, has been a pretty good buying opportunity, right? Blue all the way up was a good buying opportunity, yeah? Okay, so that's all this is essentially showing. There's a 2012 version of this as well. I don't have that pulled up, but you can go back and find it at this same site here. Okay, so I wanted to show you the ETH variation of this as well. Again, going back to 2014. So they're using a purple here. Traditionally, purple and outside of that, from an accumulation standpoint, not any sort of leveraged position or anything on this log scale, has traditionally been a pretty good buying opportunity, right? So that's, again, the only point that we're trying to make, okay? So anyways, thanks so much for tuning into the video. Make sure that you comment below. Just helps the algorithm. Like the video helping the algorithms as well. Like, you'd be surprised how far this really does go. Having conversations with each other in the comments is so huge for the algos so that more people see this video. So thank you so much for doing that. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. We'll see you in the next video.